Hey everybody, Bob Babbitt here. This is Breakfast with Bob. This is day 3 from beautiful Nice, France. We are brought to you by Velofix, Polar, UCAN, Active, Premium Plus Sports Travel, and we're at the Hotel West End. Our next guest, second place, huge breakthrough at the Ironman World Championship last year, Mr. Bart Aernouts. Bart, how you doing?
Good, thank you.
We've been doing this a number of years now.
Yeah, it's the first time outside of Kona, the breakfast show, but happy to be here in Nice and happy to talk to you again.
So you have not been on this course yet this time, but you've won here before, Ironman France. So what, all the uphills and downhills, you like that?
Yeah, I think it's, I like the course. That's also one of the reasons that I'm here, because I've missed the last years. I haven't raced the World Championship Half Ironman anymore.
Because you've been focusing on long.
Yeah, and it's always hard to combine the two races, I think. This race with Kona 5 weeks later, and also because of the travel the last years, I decided to focus on Kona. I did Vegas 2 times. I did Mont Tremblant and Zell am See. So I've raced it a couple of times, and actually I really like it. But sometimes it's also hard to choose between this one and Kona.
And Kona is so much more important in terms of for you, that race means a lot. And you've been top 10 there so many times. And then this last year, getting second place. What do you think led to? Because one thing to finish, 5th, 6th, 7th, and then jumping all the way up to second. What was the big difference for you?
I think experience for sure.
Yes.
And maybe to be at least confident that you know the race and you know what you have to do.
Yes.
Then I think patience, just wait for the perfect day, 1 year in Kona. And I think for me the main thing was just keep believing in it and keep coming back until it finally works out in Kona. And that's I was happy that I was my 7th time last year in Kona. So I think the message is that you have to keep trying, and one day you make it.
Well, you really exemplify being patient, because when you first got into triathlon, you came from very successful as duathlete, but you had to become a swimmer. You had to swim well enough so that you weren't too far behind, so you could use your strength as a cyclist and a runner. And obviously, you had to be patient, because you don't become a good swimmer overnight.
Yeah, I think, for me, it was a long way from duathlon to triathlon, and in the end, it was all worth it. If you make it to the podium, then I think it's all worth it. But it's not that I didn't have success before, the years before. I think just Kona was a different race for me, and I think, somehow I needed a bit more time to do well in Kona. Right. There's some other guys, also some other Belgians that needed time. I think Frederick is also a good example. Yes. So I think some guys are there straight away from the first year, and others, they need a bit more time. But in the end, if you're patient, then one day it can happen.
And you've been working with 2-time Ironman world champion Luc van Lierde. And how much did that help you? Because Luc learned a lot from the mistakes he made. He got injured a lot in his career, but he seems like as a coach, he uses some of his experience to keep you guys from getting injured.
Yeah, I think I'm a different athlete than Luc, and I think I haven't made that many mistakes as he did. I think
you stayed healthy.
Yeah, I stayed healthy, and maybe I'm more relaxed before race. I don't know. We're a bit different.
Yes.
But as an athlete and how we react on training, we're quite similar. So the way we respond to training.
Yes.
So I think we understand each other very well physically. And I think for me the biggest change with Luc was the experience in the. Yes, I would say the last 2 months before the race, the training is different than what I used to do.
Yes.
And in overall, it's quite similar to what I used to do in training, but I think it's the key sessions and the last 2 months, the very specific training that changed a lot with Luc. And I think I needed somebody with the experience in Kona as an athlete and a coach, and I think that's what I found with Luc.
With focusing, is the focus still Kona? And you're racing here, or have you changed your training for this race, and then you changed your training again for Kona?
I think the big goal for me is Kona this year, but also, it fitted quite well in the training program. So I did some specific training for this race, which also fits in my preparation for Kona. So I think we tried to combine the two races. But of course, the big goal is for me Kona. But I think I just took advantage of the fact that it's in Europe.
Yes.
I was training in the French Pyrenees, not too far from here.
Yes.
And no, it works out really well. And I just look forward to race and have a really hard, good training session on Sunday.
Yes.
And we see what's going to happen.
So you went sub-8 in Kona last year. And that would have been the first person ever in 40 years to go sub-8 in Kona, except for this guy, Patrick Lange.
Who did it in the same year.
He did it in the same year, right?
Yeah.
So that's, I mean, the good news, bad news is the good news is you're the second guy ever to break 8 hours at the Ironman. Bad news is there was a guy faster.
Yeah.
How do you make that step from second and now to winning this year?
I think for me the biggest challenge is not to expect a lot of other things this year, not
Right.
to expect that I'm going to do it again. It
Right.
might happen, but if I expect it, then it's probably going to be a disappointment.
Yes.
And I think another challenge is to stay relaxed and don't think. I mean, I didn't change everything this year because often the mistake is maybe you try to improve and do everything different. And
Yeah,
then
I've
maybe
seen
it's
it.
not going to work out at all. So
Right.
I think the biggest challenge is to try to do similar things to what I did in the past and see what's happening on race day again.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because I remember Lionel Sanders finished second place a couple years ago in Kona and came home, became a vegan. He changed everything, and he had lost by 2 minutes to Patrick, 2:17 or something like that. And rather than go, I did everything right, and a guy happened to run a little faster, maybe I try to run a little faster next time, he changed everything and then went backwards. So you look at it and go, hey, I got second. I'm doing something right. Let's keep doing what I'm doing, and maybe next time I get first.
Yeah, I think that was the goal for me, and I think so far that's what I did. I think the biggest difference for me is last year was the first year that I worked with Luke, and I was the second year, so maybe I just hope that
Yes.
working together for a longer time with the same coach is going to help me to improve a little bit. So I think I didn't change anything. I just hope I got a bit stronger,
Yes.
with the extra year.
What I love is when you first started coming on with us in Kona, Breakfast with Bob, you'd walk into the room and nobody really knew who you were. You'd come and sit down and people were like, who is that young man? Now you've got a camera crew following you around, right? You were second last year in the most important race in the world. How did that change your life? How has that changed your world, being second?
I mean,
Or has it?
I don't think it changed a lot for me. Maybe leading up to some races, like I felt it in Challenger Road as well. There is more. You have more things to do.
Right.
Leading up to a race, so I think it just makes it a bit busier the days before a race. It's going to be the similar in Kona probably.
Right.
But apart from that, I don't feel a different person, and it's not that I'm acting different. I think.
Yes.
So
You're still the same guy.
I hope so. I mean,
Yes.
I can't talk about it myself, but I think I'm similar to what I was before.
Yes.
And it's maybe a bit busier before important races, but it's another challenge,
I remember talking to Craig Alexander, who won the Ironman 3 times, and talking about, gosh, during these Ironman weeks, you have more obligations.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, yes, but I want that. If people don't want to talk to me, it's because they don't consider me a favorite or a factor in the race. And so you plan for that. You know you're going to have more obligations. Is that the way you look at it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's something I still have to get used to. I maybe got used to it, and after a few years, it's going to be easier. But
Right.
for me, I still have to get used to it. But I also try to not feel pressure from other
Right.
people. So I don't think it has to give you extra pressure. You have to put yourself under pressure, but don't feel it from, somebody else or things you have to do. So it just keeps the race week more interesting and more challenging. But I think the work is done before. So I think the most important thing is to try to stay relaxed and go with the flow.
The nice thing about this race is such a great mix of Javier Gomez and Alistair Brownlee and Christian Blumenfeld, and you got a lot of the ITU 70.3, and then yourself, who are Ironman guys. You like that, racing people? Maybe you don't race all the time?
Yeah, I think that's one of the exciting things about this race. It's a really strong field, and athletes, half Ironman specialists, Olympic distance guys, and then some Ironman guys.
Yes.
It's a really nice mix, and I think it's going to be one of the most interesting half Ironman races ever, because it's then a very challenging course as well. So I think I'm really looking forward to Sunday, and it's going to be exciting to watch, I hope.
Love it. Bart Aernouts has been our guest. A round of applause for Mr. Aernouts. Second place at the Ironman World Championship last year. My name is Bob Babbitt. Hold on. We will be right back.